There's a particular kind of person who is always busy and never moves forward. You probably know one. You might be one. Their calendar is color-coded. Their inbox hits 0 by noon. They have a system for everything. A note-taking app feeding a task manager feeding a weekly review. From the outside, they look like the most organized person in the room. And yet when something genuinely hard lands on their desk, a decision with real consequences, a problem with no clean answer, a moment that demands they sit in discomfort and push through, they stall. They reorganize the folder. They refine the system. They feel productive. They are not. I want to say something that's going to be uncomfortable, because I spent years on the wrong side of it. The feeling of being organized and the act of doing hard work are two completely different things. And most people, most high-functioning, intelligent, ambitious people, have quietly traded the second for the first. They've become addicted to the feeling, the neat list, the cleared inbox, the satisfying click of checking a box. That feeling is real. The progress it represents is often a lie. Here's what nobody tells you about productivity culture. It is the most socially acceptable form of avoidance ever invented. You can avoid the thing that actually matters for an entire decade and look disciplined the whole time. Nobody questions the person who's always working. So for the next 16 minutes, I'm going to take apart the machinery of this trap, how it forms, why it feels so good, and why the people who perform best under real pressure run their lives on almost the opposite principle. This isn't about doing more. It's about noticing when your organization has become a hiding place. Let's start with the to-do list, because it's the most innocent-looking tool in the whole arsenal, and it's where the trap usually begins. A list is supposed to be a map. You write down what needs to happen so your mind can let go of it and focus on the doing. That's the theory. In practice, watch what actually happens when you sit down to write your list in the morning. You write the easy things first. Reply to that email. Book the appointment. Update the spreadsheet. Then somewhere on the list, maybe in the middle, maybe pushed to the bottom, sits the one thing that actually matters. The hard conversation, the strategy you've been avoiding, the work that has no template. And here's the mechanism that ruins people. Every time you complete an easy task, your brain releases a small hit of reward. Check, check, check. By the time you've cleared 5 small things, you feel accomplished. You feel like you've earned a break. And the one hard thing is still sitting there, untouched, now protected by the very feeling of productivity you generated by avoiding it. This is the part most productivity advice gets exactly backwards. It tells you the problem is that you don't have a good enough system. So you buy the app, you watch the tutorial, you spend a Sunday building the perfect setup. But the system was never the bottleneck. The bottleneck is that hard work is uncomfortable, and your list gave you a legitimate-looking way to stay busy without touching the discomfort. A list full of completed easy tasks is not evidence of a productive day. It's frequently evidence of a day spent skillfully avoiding the one task that scared you. There's a line from Seneca that cuts right through this. He wrote that we are not given a short life, but we make it short. We are wasteful of time. And the trouble is not that we have too little, but that we lose so much of it. He wasn't talking about idleness. He was talking about busy people. People consumed by activity that feels essential and produces nothing. The Romans had the same disease we do. They just didn't have an app to make it look professional. So, the first question to sit with is brutal but simple. When you look at what you finished today, ask, did I do the hard thing, or did I do everything around the hard thing? Because if the answer is the second, no system on earth is going to fix that. The fix isn't more organization. The fix is the willingness to start your day with the one task that makes you slightly afraid before you've earned a single dopamine hit from anything else. Now, the trap gets more sophisticated because the people most vulnerable to it are not lazy. The truly lazy person doesn't build systems at all. The person who falls hardest into the productivity trap is intelligent, driven, and genuinely wants to do good work. That's what makes it so hard to see. Their avoidance doesn't look like avoidance. It looks like optimization. Let me describe a pattern you'll recognize. You have a big, ambiguous project, the kind where you're not even sure what the first real step is. It's uncomfortable precisely because it's undefined. So what do? You don't start. You research how to start. You compare 3 project management tools. You read articles on the best methodology. You restructure your notes so that when you do begin, everything will be perfectly in place. Days pass. You've been working the entire time. You've been at your desk, and you have produced nothing that exists in the real world because every hour went into preparing to do the work instead of doing it. This is the second face of the trap, and it's more dangerous than the to-do list because it can consume weeks. Optimization feels like progress in a way that pure procrastination doesn't. Scrolling social media feels like wasting time, and the guilt eventually pushes you back to work. But refining your system, building your second brain, designing the perfect workflow, that feels virtuous. There's no guilt to course correct you. You can do it indefinitely. Here's the test I started using on myself, and it's uncomfortable every single time. When I catch myself optimizing, I ask one question. Is this making something or is this preparing to make something? Preparation is real and necessary in small doses. But when preparation becomes the work itself, when you've spent more time sharpening the axe than you've ever spent swinging it, you're not preparing anymore. You're hiding, and you've found a hiding place so respectable that nobody, including you, will call it what it is. Epictetus said it plainly. Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. He was warning his students about exactly this. The seduction of talking about the thing, planning the thing, perfecting the theory of the thing, as a substitute for the harder act of simply doing it. The trader who watches the screen all day and never places the trade isn't being careful. At some point, careful becomes frozen, and the only way out is to accept that the work will be messy when it starts, that your system will be imperfect, and to begin anyway, inside the discomfort, not after you've engineered it away. Because you never engineer it away. You only postpone the moment you have to face it. So far, this might sound like a productivity problem. You're getting less done than you think. But the real cost is deeper, and it's the reason I titled this the way I did. The productivity trap doesn't just waste your time. It actively makes you weaker when pressure arrives. Here's the mechanism. Strength under pressure, the capacity to stay effective when the stakes are high and the ground is shifting, is built the same way physical strength is built. Through repeated exposure to load. You get comfortable with hard, ambiguous, uncomfortable situations by spending time in them. Every time you sit with a difficult problem and work through it without a template, you build tolerance for that exact discomfort. It's reps. It's training. Now think about what the productivity trap does. Every system, every optimization, every cleared list is a way of removing discomfort from your day. You are systematically training yourself to feel calm only when everything is organized, sorted, and under control. You've built an entire life that runs smoothly precisely because you've engineered the friction out of it. And then real pressure hits. A crisis that doesn't fit your system. A decision with no clean answer and a clock running. A situation where the inbox can't be cleared because the problem isn't an inbox. And you discover, in the worst possible moment, that you have no tolerance for it. You've spent years avoiding the small discomforts, so you never built the capacity for the large ones. The organized person is often the most fragile person in the crisis, because their composure was never real composure. It was the absence of anything hard. Take the calm away, and there's nothing underneath. This is the difference between a calm that's built and a calm that's borrowed. Borrowed calm comes from your environment being under control. The moment the environment breaks, the calm breaks with it. Built calm comes from having repeatedly survived the loss of control and learned that you function anyway. The first feels identical to the second right up until the moment of pressure, and then they could not be more different. Marcus Aurelius, who ran an empire through plague and war, wrote that the impediment to action advances action, that what stands in the way becomes the way. Read that as a performance principle, not a poem. He's saying the obstacle is not the interruption of your training. The obstacle is the training. The hard, unstructured, uncomfortable thing is the rep that builds the strength. So when you optimize it away, when you organize until there's no friction left, you're not protecting your performance. You're starving it. You're removing the exact stimulus that would have made you durable, and durability is the only thing that matters when the stakes are real, because that's the day no system can save you. Only what you've built in yourself can. If you step back and look at the to-do list, the endless optimization, and the fragility under pressure, you start to see they're not three separate problems. They're three symptoms of one underlying thing. And naming it is the whole game, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. The pattern is this. We are wired to seek the feeling of progress, and the feeling of progress is a far easier thing to manufacture than progress itself. Your brain doesn't actually know the difference between meaningful work and the sensation of meaningful work. A checked box produces the sensation. A cleared inbox produces the sensation. A beautifully organized system produces the sensation. None of them require you to do the one thing that actually moves your life. The hard, uncomfortable, often boring work that produces no immediate hit of satisfaction at all. Real work, the kind that compounds, usually feels bad in the moment. It's slow. It's uncertain. You don't get a clean check mark at the end of an hour spent thinking through a hard, strategic problem. You often end that hour more confused than you started, with nothing to show, no dopamine, no evidence, which is exactly why the brain steers you away from it and toward the tasks that pay out immediately. The productivity trap is, at its core, a system for choosing immediate emotional payoff over delayed real results while dressing that choice up as discipline. And here's the part that took me years to admit. The more sophisticated your productivity system, the better you are at hiding this from yourself. A person with no system who procrastinates at least knows they're procrastinating. The guilt is honest. But a person with an elaborate system can avoid the real work for a decade and feel like a paragon of discipline the entire time, because every day is full, every list is handled, every metric looks healthy. The system becomes a machine for generating the feeling of a life well lived without the substance of one. I'm not telling you to throw away your calendar. Structure has its place. I'm telling you to be ruthlessly honest about what your structure is for. Is it clearing space so you can do the hard thing? Or is it the place you go to feel like you're doing the hard thing while you avoid it? The same tool serves both purposes, and only you know which one it's serving on any given day. There's a Stoic idea that the first task of the philosopher is to strip away self-deception, to see your own life accurately before you try to improve it. Most productivity advice does the opposite. It hands you a new way to deceive yourself, a more elaborate costume for the same old avoidance. The work isn't to get more organized. The work is to get honest about what all that organizing is actually protecting you from. So what do you actually do with this? Not another system. That would be missing the entire point. What you do is change the order of your day and the standard you measure it by. Start here. Tomorrow morning, before you open your inbox, before you write a single list, before you let yourself feel organized about anything, Identify the one task that makes you slightly uncomfortable, the one with no template, the one you've been circling, and do that first, not for 2 hours, even 30 minutes, while you still have the most resistance and the least dopamine in your system. You will not feel productive doing this. That's the signal you're doing it right. The discomfort is the rep. Then change how you judge the day. Stop measuring it by how much you completed and how clean your system looks. Measure it by one question. Did I spend real time inside difficulty today, or did I spend the day around it? A day with 3 things checked off and the hard thing untouched is a failed day, no matter how good it felt. A day where you sat in the hard thing and produced something messy and unfinished is a successful one, even if nothing got a check mark. That single reframe will fight your entire neurology, and that's exactly why it works. And understand what you're really building when you do this. You're not just getting more done. You're training the one capacity that decides everything when pressure is real. The ability to stay functional inside discomfort. Every morning you face the hard thing first. You add a rep to that. You're building calm instead of borrowing it. So that on the day the crisis comes, the day no system can organize away, you don't discover an empty space where your composure was supposed to be. You discover that you've been training for it the whole time. In every uncomfortable morning you chose not to hide. The organized always look strong in calm weather. Anyone can. The question that actually matters is who's still effective when the weather turns. And that person was never built by a better list. They were built by 1,000 small refusals to take the comfortable exit. The trap is real, it's seductive, and it's dressed up as everything our culture calls discipline. But you can step out of it tomorrow morning, in the first 30 minutes, with the hardest thing on your plate and no system to hide behind. Feeling organized is easy. Being dangerous under pressure is earned. Choose the second one. Start tomorrow.